Hey everyone, how we doing today? This is James Sweeney, aka SplitSuit, and welcome back to another video. And as part of the Ask SplitSuit a Question series, a bunch of people asked hand history questions, and this one actually came via email. And iBars just wants me to review this hand play to 50 no limit, so let's check it out. Okay, so in this situation, we're on the button with Ace-Jack. There's a raise. Hero decides to call. And calling can be okay. At least you're utilizing your button. I'm happy about that. I would consider going for a 3-bet at least, but I'm at least giving action in some way, so at least I'm happy you're not folding in this spot. End up getting called by free cash. Go 3-way to it. Check, check. You decide to bet. Totally standard so far. Everything looks really good. End up facing a 3x check raise from free cash, the original raiser folds, and hero decides to call. Okay, so let's start by backing up one quick tick and start from here. So first and foremost, I like to ask myself, are there any legitimate super strong combos that free cash can have? Now, I think that if he had aces or queens, all those hands get 3-bet preflop. I think even ace-queen gets 3-bet preflop, to be totally honest. So I think there's no top sets, there's no middle sets, there's no top 2 pair. I think all those things are essentially washed. There is exactly one combination of ace-7 suited. Not super worried about one combo. There are 3 combinations of pocket 7s, okay. And then there are the draws. Right? And there are varying kinds of draws. There's things like King 10, which has a gut shot. There are things like 2 spades, which have flush draws. And there are things like Ace X of spades, which have a lot of equity and are reasonable, but we're always going to have them kicker dominated, which is a benefit because I assume they probably 3-bet preflop with Ace King. So we're in a situation where free cash just simply cannot show up with that many super strong hands, and that's obviously to our benefit. So I would heavily consider jamming this, as opposed to just flatting. Now, flatting can be okay if you think that free cash has just a tremendous amount of bluffs in his range, and you think that if you call, he's going to continue firing at the pot. By all means, call, induce the bluff in the turn, give it action, be super happy. But if you're playing against someone else, I would heavily consider going for a 3-ball here and just going forward and just stacking it off and feeling pretty comfortable, thinking that a lot of players who do this will stack it off with things like draws, or maybe they're overvalued like an ace-9 suited type thing. Totally cool with all of that as well. And this is partially a function of it's just really difficult for him to have a decently strong hand, just given the board texture, given the combos, given what he probably would have 3-bet with preflop, which means that a lot of his range is probably going to be drawy or possibly overvalued ace X, or I just want to apply pressure and see how sticky I can get this person to become. And again, I always want to be really, really aggressive. And also one of the other things you have to consider is that if you do just call here, if free cash can hand read at all, you represent ace X that doesn't really want to go anywhere, queen X that maybe doesn't want to go anywhere, and then maybe a couple of draws, but most players will play draws more aggressively, so it's expected that those will 3-ball as well. So again, we're kind of back to a situation where you can go either way. I'm not really going to fold here unless free cash is the biggest ultra nit in the world, and I know he wouldn't 3-bet preflop with ace queen, and even still I don't love it, but that's against a very, very specific player with very, very specific information. Typically I am going to be giving action. When I give action though, particularly when I give action by calling, I have to have that future plan, because at this point, 23 in the middle, 27 back, this is a situation where it's very, very easy and expected that stacks are going to get in somehow. So I need to have that plan. Am I going to stack off on future streets or not? And all of that being said, brings us to the turn, 10 of hearts, and free cash decides to drill it, and hero decides to fold. And this is my biggest issue with hero's hand, is if you're going to call the check raise, what does the 10 really change? Shy of filling up exactly King Jack or Ace 10, there's just not a lot of things the 10 is going to scare me about. Maybe it even gave him a pair with his spade draw, something like that. That's certainly reasonable. This is just one of those where if I call the flop, I'm definitely calling the turn. The whole reason why I would call the flop is to induce on turns, which means I have to be prepared to get sticky on those cards. So just remember that. If you're ever in a situation, you're calling and you're putting yourself in a situation where there's like roughly 1 times the pot left, maybe 1.5 times the pot left. You need to have that plan before you even call the original bet. Know what you're going to do on those future cards. For me personally, my plan was to call the check raise. If I were going to call the check raise, and then call all turn shoves, this would definitely fit the bill. I definitely don't want to be folding here. I think I'm unfortunately letting flush draws play a little too close to perfect in this situation. So Ibars, thanks for the great hand, and if you or anyone else has a poker related hand or question, feel free to leave it on our Google Plus page. Leave a link for that in the description box, and also please make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this type of video. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Otherwise, good luck out there, and happy grinding.